Now, if you're a service manager and you got 3 guys that during your slow season have 2 or 3 hours a day where they're not doing anything and on an open work order, tell me what you should do as a part service manager. So you got them there for 40 hours a week, but every day there's 3 hours we're not billing anybody for. Tell me what you should do if you're a parts manager managing the resources that you've been trusted to manage. You should be reducing their what? Their hours. And I tell people, I don't want you to reduce it to less than 30, but you got easily 10 hours a week per technician that you shouldn't be buying right now. You don't have the demand for it. You shouldn't be buying it. My techs don't mind it because guess what they've been making all year long? Big old bonuses, and they say, hey, that's cool with me, right? Because as soon as the season goes back again, now if you haven't been paying bonuses, then if it gets slow, you'll never get less than 30 hours here, but if it gets really slow, keep in mind we may do what? So when you get these big $600 and $800 every 2-week bonuses, do what? Put a little bit of it back, right? Be like the little, right? Put it back there a little bit to do it with. So I tell them up front because that's what we're going to do from that point on. You know, you go back to retailing again. You know, in retail stores, if there's not enough work there, they do what? Send people home early. Yet for some odd reason in dealerships, say, well, we just can't do it, Bob. You got to do it. We don't do any overtime in our shops. I mean, it's rare that we do overtime. The dealership I was at up in Belmont, Massachusetts, he's averaging with one guy 15 hours of overtime a week, and it's slow. He's paying this guy $28 an hour. You know what 15 hours of overtime is? Time and a half. So he's paying this guy over $40 an hour, right, with overtime. And I go, why are you paying him 15 hours a week overtime when there's nothing work? Well, he's just kind of used to that. Well, we're going to get him unused to that. That's what he told me. We're just kind of used to that. He's kind of come to expect that. Well, we're going to have him not expect it. Okay. Now he's a good technician, but he made $90-some thousand last year, and the shop lost money. The shop lost money. You will lose money. They only did with 2 technicians a little over $200,000 worth of billing. They had 2,700 total billable hours in that shop. They had the capacity to do 4,000. And they lost money. Why did they lose money? Because they only did 2,700 billable hours. And they said, well, we just couldn't keep up. Are you kidding me? Right? You had 1,300 hours that we bought that we didn't sell, and you're telling me we couldn't keep up. Right? That's terrible. So again, that's the thing. Evaluate your recovery rate. What is it? Recovery rate is the number of hours I'm buying divided into the number of hours I bill. So again, if you have a technician that's there 8 hours and he bills 8 hours out, what's his recovery rate? Our percentage. He's there 8 hours, he bills 10 hours out, what's our recovery rate? About 120%. That's where you guys are going to be. You get technicians. It's not hard to be and recover at over 100% in outdoor power. A little harder to do it in ag, construction equipment, because in outdoor power, we can flat rate easier than they can in ag and construction equipment. So we'll talk about that. And then we got to measure tech efficiency. And tech efficiency is a measurement of time when they're turning a wrench versus what they're billing out for that time. Remember we said on our work orders in our process, we write the time down in the work order. So let's use an example. If I have a mid-mount mower with a spindle on it, our flat rate to change out a spindle, the first spindle on a mid-mount zero-turn mower is 1 hour. 1 hour, that's my flat rate on it. Now, in that hour, right, and how many people in here, if you've ever done a spindle on a mid-mount zero-turn mower, feel like you could do it in an hour? Well, you can. The average time is about 35 minutes. But we charge an hour because we had to check the machine in. Their bonuses on a 2-week average. Our bonuses go from 85 to 100%, from 101 to 125%, and 126% and up. In most cases, they get a $2 bonus on every billable hour for 85 to 100% efficient. They get a $4 bonus on every billable hour, retroactive back to the first hour, if they're 101 to 125% efficient, and they get a $6 per billable hour bonus if they're 126% efficient or higher. And I will tell you, most all of my techs are running 126 to 130 to 140% efficient. Right? And what would happen in your shop if you went from 60% to 100% or 120%? And that's what I tell. That's what I tell most of my guys. You got too many technicians. Your problem is you don't have enough work to keep all the technicians you have busy. And it's not because they're good, it's because your processes are broken. Once you get your processes right, everything else works in your shop. So we're measuring that tech efficiency. All right, everybody see how that process works? Okay, again, it's broke, this happens, and it goes out. And again, these guys all day long, they don't go out and get their equipment. They're not waiting for it. They're not washing it. As soon as that piece of equipment is done and they got a green tag on it, they simply move it out of the way. And guess what that service coordinator has for them? Their next piece is there. Parts are on the seat. That person that's a service coordinator takes the machine that's sitting there and does what to it? They'll take it out, stage it in the green area, and that happens all day long. And when the technician is done with the job, the service coordinator takes it out, he grabs a broom, he sweeps the area out. You don't want to have somebody that can make you $70 or $80 an hour sweeping the floor, people. And I have some guys go, well, they made the mess. I don't care. The surgeon made the room bloody. Right? I'm not going to have him clean it up. I'm just going to have him go to the next what? Operating room. You just keep operating, making me $70, $80 an hour. I'll hire somebody for $9 an hour to do what? Clean up your mess. Make sense? So I tell people again, don't have somebody that can make you $70 or $80 an hour doing the work you can pay somebody $9 or $10 an hour to do. It makes no sense. All right? Okay, so that's our service process. Any questions? And again, yes?
Is there a bonus for the $9 an hour guy?
Oh yeah, he gets his bonus. It's a great question. So my service coordinator, they're typically, like I say, about a $9 or $10 an hour guy. They're kind of my fry cook. But what they do is they get a bonus based upon the level that a technician bonus is at. So if, let's say I've got 3 technicians in my shop. So the service coordinator gets no bonuses if the technicians aren't at least 85% efficient. Okay, but once a technician is 85% efficient, so from 85 to 100%, he gets a 50-cent bonus on every hour that technician produces for that 2-week period of time. Okay? If the technician is 101 to 125%, he gets a 75-cent bonus on every one of those hours. And if the technician is 126% efficient, he gets $1 on every one of those hours. So if a technician's at 126%, that technician's probably producing close to 100 hours every 2 weeks. So he would get a $100 bonus on that technician. He's got 3 of them. What's really funny with these guys, they figured out, I waited tables when I was going to college, and I figured out the better I took care of the tables, the bigger my tip. That's kind of what the service coordinator does. So let's say I've got you over here, and you're at 130%. I already know I'm going to make $1 on every hour you produce. You're at 84. I'm making nothing on you right now. Who am I going to focus on? Right? You and I, buddy, we're partnered up, right? Because I don't have to worry too much over here because this guy's already cranking it out. All I got to do is just keep feeding him. You and I are going to be best buds because I'm going to at least make 50 cents on every one of your hours. My good service coordinators, in an outdoor power shop, they can manage about 3 techs. My guys in my ag and construction equipment can actually handle 7 or 8 because you're just not moving that much through that fast. But my good service coordinators, they'll make about $500 or $600 a month bonuses during season. I mean, they just love it. They just love it. And again, they know when it gets slow, I may not keep them through slow season, right? It's like my parts runner, because I tell people, again, if they leave, they're not a technician. They're just somebody that I teach to move stuff around quickly. So they're not a skilled technician at all. They need to know how to use a 3/8" drive set to take off covers and basic things like that. But again, I go back again, if you're doing a great job and you're a little behind, he's going to come up and he's going to grab your blades and sharpen them for you. He say, hey, I'll evacuate that oil, I'll do this, I'll do this. He's going to do anything he can to help you get that job through faster, because if you get it through faster, your efficiency goes up, and as your efficiency goes up, then that's how he gets his bonuses. So he doesn't get any bonus if you're below 85%. He works hard to make sure you're never doing anything but turning a wrench, because that's how they get it. So yeah, so in our system, everybody has the ability in the whole organization to bonus. My office people have the ability to bonus.
How do you manage the matrix in payroll?
It's really simple. What sort of business software are you running?
It's just QuickBooks.
Okay, QuickBooks or QuickBooks Pro or whatever. So you have the ability to run a report out of that for labor dollars and things like that. But I have a spreadsheet that we use. So whatever software you're running, we can pull the numbers out, just dump them into the spreadsheet, and it's done every day. So your guys are probably not actually clocking on work orders and stuff. They're physically doing it. That's fine. I actually have a sheet. Now, I'm going to give you a thing to fill out for just a link. I got actually a time log that my guys use that don't have guys clocking in and out. So my technicians actually write it down on a time log sheet. They do their totals at the end of the day, they turn them in, and then somebody in the office just simply takes the totals off of the bottom of the page and put them in a little spreadsheet that I create, and it does all the calculations. So it's real simple. It's real simple. It doesn't take any time at all. And every day then, the next day, my technicians know exactly what their efficiency is and how much bonus they've already made. So every day they know, as of yesterday, where they're at, what their efficiency is. Because it could be a difference. If you're at $6 bonus or you're at a no dollar bonus, if you're, let's say, at 2, and you say, gosh, I've got 40 or 50 hours here at $2, but if I could pick it up a little bit, I could have that same 40 or 50 hours at $6. They get pretty focused on watching their time. And that's what I want people to do. I tell people time is an inventory product we have. I want my guys to be really conscious. My good service techs don't take breaks. They get them, they just don't take them. I got one of my best techs is with a dealer in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he runs consistently 140s. Young guy, about 22 years old, got a wife and a kid. They have an hour lunch break. He brings a bag lunch from home, and I tell people, you go into the shop down there, he's literally eating a sandwich and turning a wrench. Because the cool thing about it is he's off the clock, right? Because he's not on the clock anymore because it's at lunch. So what can he do with his efficiency? And I tell people, don't make any difference to me, right? So I tell people again, you know what? It makes no difference to me, and he turns out great quality work, but he's used to, he'll make $1,500, $2,000 a month in bonuses. He's just good at what he does. But it makes the other guys kind of angry because there's some older guys in there. It's like, well, you know what? He just did it. I said, you know what? He's a young guy. He's got a kid. He wants to buy a house. He's just trying to make what? Welcome to America. That's how it works. So, and again, but at some point he won't do it that way anymore. But right now, and he just puts out quality work all the time, and he's just a great guy. And I tell guys, it doesn't make any difference to me. By law he has to clock out and have lunch, but by law he can do anything over his lunch he wants to do, right?
Sure.
Right. So I can't make him work through lunch. He has to legally clock out for that hour. But there's nothing in the law says he can't still go over there and do what? Turn a wrench and build. And so, and that's the beauty of it from his standpoint. So, make sense? And again, I tell people again, the nice thing about it is once you get all the processes in place, then you don't have to manage people anymore. All you do is manage the process. Because I tell people again, that's the other thing, is we don't want to manage people. We want to create a process that manages the people. And so my technicians know, here's where you have to be at. So, if there are 3 or 4 bonus periods and they don't make bonuses, they already know they're not going to have a job there. We're very clear on that right up front. So I tell people again, so it's not me, right? You knew going into it. It's the system that, the process says this is the number and you didn't do it. And a lot of people say, well, that's just not fair. It's just the way it is, right? We don't grade on the curve. Here it is. Everybody knows it. We're all adults, right? That's how we do it. So and I don't really have any technicians that ever lose. I've had a few that's quit the week that I was in there because they just were not willing to adapt to it. But I tell people, my technicians love my process. The people that hate my process are managers in the beginning because they think it's going to take them a lot of time to keep track of it. Once they get to the end of the week, it's very, very simple to do. But so my battle is always with my management, not with my technicians. Because the technicians, about the second day when they go, so you're going to wash this for me? Oh yeah. You're going to bring it in? Oh yeah. You're going to have all the parts already pulled for me? Oh yeah. I love you. I have a dealership down in Macon, Georgia. This guy's name is Lee Allen. Lee Allen's he's probably 63 or 64 years old now, but I was down there a few years back, and they had 4 technicians. We ended up getting down to 2. They had one that had a drug problem that I fired when I was down there. I had a young kid that wanted to work on airplanes, and I encouraged him to do it. They had people they didn't need. He did it. Great gig. Anyway, this Lee Allen was making about $28,000 a year when I went down there, and I was, as I laugh, I was the Antichrist to him. This will never work. I've been doing this for all these years. You know what you're talking about. He made $63,000 last year. His wife, they get their pay period ends every Wednesdays, so every second Wednesday. His wife, on the Wednesday for the first week, because we bonus every 2 weeks, his wife calls the service manager and says, where's he at? Where's he at? I tell people, if you made $68,000 a year in Macon, Georgia, you get to be king. But it's funny because now when I go down, it's like, I like it, but boy, you've made my marriage miserable, Bob. He laughs when we do it. But he's just never made that kind of money before. And he was a great technician, but he was just in a system that didn't work for him, right? So it wasn't that he wasn't a great technician. He was a great technician, but the system was so messed up on how things happened. Here I have a great technician that's washing stuff, that's cleaning up, that's doing this. He's looking up his own parts. He's pulling his own parts. Of course he can't be efficient. We get rid of all that stuff. I'm a parts department looking at parts, pulling parts. That's what they get paid to do. I don't ask them to go fix equipment. I don't want anybody in my parts department. My parts people have plenty of time to pull parts because once we get the triage process in place, when do I need parts? I'm going to look at a piece of equipment today that I'm not going to work on until Wednesday of next week. So when do you need to look up the parts? No, not now, because you may have 18 people in line, right? I don't need the parts till Wednesday of next week. right? Most of you can get parts in 2 days if you absolutely had to have them. See what I mean? So that's, I tell people, my process gets to a point where you have probably at least 4 or 5 days notice on any part I'm going to need before I even need it. Wouldn't that be nice? By the way, then what happens to your parts inventory? Right now, your parts inventory is set up to meet an on-time demand from your shop. So you have to have a bigger parts inventory. My shops, most of their parts inventories are reduced by 20% at the end of the first year. Right? Because I don't need 5 carburetors, knowing not for sure what my shop's going to need. Right? I can keep 3 of those carburetors in stock, meet an on-time demand across the counter, and still meet my instant demand that I might have in my shop. I don't need 5 anymore, so let's just carry 3 in stock. Right? Because I got 4 days if I need one to do what? To get one in a stocking order with no freight and a discount. So anyway, make sense? So again, once you've got everything set up, it all flows, but it all starts with the shop. All right, let's talk about parts.